family, welcome to the Campage Experience. This is our first episode and I am so grateful that you have joined us, and I couldn't think of a better person to have on our first episode than my cousin Paquita McGhee. We call her Kita.
Yes.
Welcome. I am just so proud of you, and I'm just so grateful that you came to share your story with us, because it does take strength and bravery, and she's so willing. I think I asked you like forever ago, and
yes.
I'm just so grateful that you're here with me. So today we are actually talking about physical abuse, but even more we are talking about child abuse, because we do understand there are different parts to that. And Paquita, you experienced child abuse growing up. Can you tell us about your early childhood years with your parents?
Early childhood, it was kind of normal. Starting off, I do remember it was my mother and my father. So mom and dad were together, and that was normal. And of course there was some domestic abuse with them, but for the most part we didn't like see a lot of it, so it was normal. And the relationship that I had with both of them then was, I got mom, I got dad, and sisters. So starting out, it was like a normal family.
Normal family. So you shared that you felt like you lost your mom. What happened?
It was just a family, but dad got removed, so then mom found someone new. Once he came into the picture, that's when it was like, okay, this isn't right. It don't feel right. Like, even as a kid, kids know, when something's not right, when things are off. And my mom, I remember, so the turning point was my mom used to go to work and she would leave us home with this man. And of course, he's not our dad. We know that he's not our dad. This is our mom's friend. To us, a friend. Then he moves in, and mom's at work, and we're being told to take our clothes off and dance. So here we are, we're young girls, and we're dancing, in the living room in our underwears.
Wow.
And so I remember there's an incident. We had to spend the night at our grandmother's house. My grandma had a pull-out couch, and when we went to visit and we stayed, that's where we slept. And my sister was out of the bed. She had got out of the bed, and I was then woken up to get out of the bed. And he was sleeping on the couch. My Nana was upstairs asleep. We were all on the bed, and it was just 4 of us at the time. So we were woken up out of the bed and to get on the couch, and my sister was already over there, and I'm like, what are we doing? And then the next thing you know, I'm being told touch me here. He was taking our hands, putting our hands on his private parts. I didn't know before then, it wasn't the first time happening to her. So I just remember, I was just crying. I just kept crying. And I remember falling asleep. And that was the first time when I was mom wasn't there. She wasn't there to help us, to save us from what was going on. And then it was once that happened, we went back home. My mom had got out, and she came back home next day or whatever. Everything was going back to normal. Well, after that, I was never made it past it again. He never did that to me again. But my older sister, he continued to do that to her. One night, my sister told my mom. She told my mom what was happening to her. Instead of my mom helping her, she sent her away. So therefore, I never said anything because I didn't want to get sent away like my sister. And then I wouldn't see the rest of my sisters. So I never said anything. So after my older sister being sent away for her telling, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be sent away and separated from my sisters either. So when she finally came back, of course we was happy to have our sister back, but it didn't stop. It was small things that kept happening, stuff like us being in the tub, taking a bath, and him standing there in the doorway.
Wow.
And like the thing that I do like appreciate, like my older sister, she did, like she still kept telling my mom what was happening and nothing was being done. And even as a young kid, like we know like that's not right. Like we telling, and it's like our mom not trying to help us. So that's when it was like our mom is not our mom. Yeah. And it sucks to feel that way, like to be a kid and you're living with your mom and you don't feel like your mom is your mom. Like I don't have the same mom that I had before she got with this man. Like it's like, who is this lady?
Wow.
Now imagine you have to grow up like that.
I'm gonna say I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you for your bravery and to share your story. And I just pray that someone's life is already just being impacted by what's already been shared. I know I have, and we're cousins. We're probably the closest ones. And even with that, you know, we kind of just been chatting, and I said there was just so many things that I was just like, not Keita, because I guess you felt like you couldn't share those things. So these things are new to me, and just to see, you know, that you're healing and that you're able to share your story, that means so much to me. And I just love seeing you blossom.
Thank you.
So, you know, with us continuing to talk about child abuse, there's discipline, and every parent has different types of discipline. We have discipline that's just maybe taking things away or a timeout or whatever the case may be. We kind of have a little joke about the standing in the corner. I just tease my cousins a little bit. So we got that little thing. You know, when you're kids, you don't realize what's going on, and I'm over here, big cousin, making things worse. But we can kind of laugh about those things. But, you know, we have to discipline our children. But then there's another step. There's a step from that goes beyond that. Can you just tell me about your experience?
Okay. So that was happening. The most traumatizing experience that I have, we were actually all home when it happened. And I will just give a little background, because there's so many of us. When our mom left the house, we created the system. We all had a person. So each of us older ones were in charge, like we were responsible for a younger one. And my person was my little sister Kiana. She was my person, so she technically was like my first child. Like I had to do everything for her. And so that particular day, we all were in our room, and we all shared one big room. All of us were in the same room. My mom was home. Now we only are supposed to have our person when she's not home. She was home in her room. We all were in our room. Well, Kiana was a baby, and she was out in the hallway, and she was choking on a penny. My mother then got upset, and she started screaming my name. So she's mad at me because Kiana's choking on a penny. But I'm in my room with my sisters where she told us to be. So she gets mad. Next thing you know, she comes out with this board, and I'm talking like the big, long, thick board like they use in a sorority in college, that board. She had one of those boards, and she came out, she just started whipping me with it all over my body. She started beating me. She literally busted my head open, literally. And I remember I was bleeding, I was crying, mainly because of the pain that was going through my body. But my sisters were like, Quita, you're bleeding, your head's bleeding. And I remember being filled with so much rage. Like I screamed to the top of my lungs. And I was like, I don't care, I hope I die. And in that moment, I really just wanted to die.
Wow.
And I have a scar in my head. It's on the side of my head. I have a scar in my head that I will never forget that moment. That is not discipline. And on top of that, I'm a child. I believe I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And here I am being held responsible for my little sister choking on a penny when her mother is home to watch her. So there's a difference between discipline and abuse, and me and my siblings, we experienced a lot of abuse. It was not discipline. Some people say, it's discipline, like you shouldn't have been doing this or you shouldn't have been doing that. But when you're leaving whelps and busting open heads and stuff like that, that is abuse. Yeah. It's no longer discipline.
There's so many aspects of physical abuse, even though we may not speak of it. And it tends to be family members, people that are close to us. But what I love is that God can restore relationships. And just because we've gone through the things that we've gone through, the hurt that we've gone through, that doesn't mean that we can't be whole. So I want you all to stick with us and see what life is like for Keita now. You have overcome so much and you're glowing. Like there's just something about you. I'm so proud of you. And I tell you, one thing I'm so proud of you is just the mom and the wife that you are. And you take pride in that. I can see it in you. And it's not about, we always say Facebook moms and Facebook wives. And although you're proud on social media, it's in your private time. There's been times I FaceTime and you're like, well, I'm cuddled here with my babies and my hubby bear, as you say. We're having
my
family time.
Bear.
My hubby wubby bear. Let me get that right. She has the best nicknames. And I know that is so important to you. Your family is so important to you. And our childhood, one thing I always say is our childhood impacts our lives as an adult. Whether it's we choose the negative route or we kind of go the negative route or the positive route. Keita, can you tell me how your childhood and the abuse and things like that, how that has affected you as a mother and a wife?
It has definitely made me more aware. Like having Robert, my son, having him young, I didn't want to leave him. Like what happened to me, always constantly replayed in my mind. And I still had to go to school. I still had to work. And when I would come home, I'm immediately checking him. I'm checking his diaper. I'm looking in there. And I did it to everybody, even my own grandma, my Nana. And I love my nanny. And I know they would never do anything. But it was just for clarity, I had to check. I had to make sure that he was okay and nothing happened to him. And the same thing with my daughter. Everyone just, I want her, I want to take her, and it's no. And people don't understand. They think that you have something against them, but no, it's my job. It's my duty to protect my children. And that's what I'm going to do. Whether someone's going to be upset about it or not, you just got to feel the way you feel. Because at the end of the day, I'm their mom. Yeah. And I can tell my kids, they think I'm the best thing since sliced bread.
They do.
So, honey, I am going to go to bat for them no matter what. I don't care who gets mad. But it changes you. It changes your outlook, the way that you look at things, the way that you move. It really takes a toll on you. And my kids, for a long time, people be like, oh, your kids are good. They're well-mannered and stuff like that. People ask me, do I whip my kids? Stuff like that. No, I take their toys, I take their electronics. Of course, kids are into their electronics. I take that stuff from them. I just take things away from them. I don't like to spank them. I don't like to do anything like that to them because it brings up, old feelings for me.
Yeah.
But my kids, I do my best. I make sure they never experience what I experienced growing up. And like I said, it just makes you more aware of things. You react to things different than other people would. Some people who haven't experienced things like that, it's okay. They're fine with, letting their kids go out and stuff like that. You want to look at the world positive, but if something happens to you, you're going to think about it when dealing with other people, and especially your own kids. You're not going to want that to happen to them. So definitely more aware and I'm like the mom that I'd rather have the kids come to my house so I can keep an eye on things, because I'm like, look, and I tell people all the time, like my little village of my friends and their kids, honey, they know Auntie Keita got the kids, honey. I got it. Ain't nobody gonna mess with the kids.
I love that. I love that so much. And what about your hubby Wubby Bear?
My husband, of course, you know, we come from different backgrounds, grow up different. It's like when it comes to our kids, he'll say, you're so soft. You let them get over on you. Like, I'm the soft parent. I am the one who they know, like, oh, it's good. It's mom. Like, you know. But when their dad's around, like, they like, you know, they straighten up. They're not gonna play with their dad. But even like being a wife and stuff like that, even with my husband, like, I love him. He's a good husband. He's a good father. But like not having the affection and stuff and that relationship with my mom growing up and with my dad being out of the picture, like for me, it's important for my kids to have those bonds. So as to where I'm the hands-on parent, especially because I started out being just a stay-at-home mom, like our bond was built already, me and the kids. So him, I would push it on him a lot. Like, you need to do this more. You need to do this more. Like, you and Robert need to have father-son time. You and Chanel need to have father-daughter time. Like, I'd be like pushing him to do things. And I was like, you know, I gotta relax. I gotta let him come into it on his own too, because he's a dad, and you know, he has his own, you know, way of thinking and stuff. So I had to like kind of ease back.
Yeah, that love language. We all have different love languages, so we just receive and give love differently, but it's still love. Talking about your parents, you shared that your dad really wasn't in the picture. He was in the beginning, but you know, throughout the rest of your childhood, he wasn't. And you shared about the different experiences that you had with your mother. But one thing that is so important, that relationships can be restored. So how has your relationship with your parents evolved?
Well, my dad, like, you know, he was in and out of the picture, and I could say, like, when my dad was around, like, he was a dad. Like,
what does that look like?
Now I actually talk to my mom, and it wasn't actually until this year that I got to talk to my mom.
Wow, it's amazing.
And I believe it was last year, it was me and a couple of my sisters that had got to talk to her, and we got to get some things off our chest. And even after that, we didn't speak for a while, but it felt good to say some of the things that we had to say to her. And it wasn't until this year, like the beginning of this year, when I actually got to like start talking to her again, and she apologized for missing time.
Wow.
Like from being away, like years, like even when my kids were born, she didn't see my kids much. And I would like to talk to her, you know, and talk about our relationship, like, and I believe it'll come, but like right now, like the relationship that we are building, like I'm good, like I'm okay with it. Because over the years, like for my salvation, there's a lot of that hurt that was still bottled up inside of me that I actually had to let go for me. Like it wasn't for her or for him, like it was for me and for my kids, so that I can be the best person that I can be. Like I remember going up to the altar. I remember, you know, that one thing that was just holding me back. I remember like releasing it and letting it go. And that's what I did. Like I let it go, and I never like kept on dwelling on it and talking about it and like bringing it up. I kind of just like, it happened, I gotta heal. Like I want to be better.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's so important to remember, that no matter what you have gone through, that you can change, you can heal, and it's not impossible. Just because, you know, you have gone through what you've gone through in your childhood does not mean that doesn't define you.
Yeah.
It doesn't define you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story. Just quickly, I know there are so many people that may have dealt with some type of abuse growing up, and you're still trying to figure out how to heal. You're still trying to figure out how to forgive. One thing, you didn't say, forgiveness necessarily, but you basically, kind of had shared like this forgiveness thing. It's not for my parent. It's not for whoever may have hurt you, but this is for me. I have to be free. I have to heal, and I can't heal until I want to.
You've got to do it for yourself.
That's good. Do it for yourself, because you're worth it. You're so worth it, and you deserve to be free. You deserve to be healed, and you deserve to be whole.
And have good relationships. That's another thing, because it affects your relationships with other people, your loved ones, your friends, the people you come in contact with. It does affect it.
So good.
So if you don't heal from it, you won't be able to be your best self. You won't be able to give your best self. And you want to be able to give your best self to the people you love, family, friends. And you deserve to be the best version of you.
Yes, you do. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Family, I pray that you have been encouraged, that your life has been impacted through this story. I encourage you to share on your social media platform, share with a loved one, share with a friend. Maybe you haven't experienced this, but you still can get something out of it. We talked about forgiveness, we talked about parenting, we talked about so much, but you also may know someone that may have dealt with child abuse or physical abuse in any type of way, and they need an answer. They need to hear something. How can I heal? How can I walk through this process? So you just share with your loved ones. And we pray that you will come back with us next week, because we're continuing this journey of telling stories of women. Remember, these are real women, real stories.
Yes.
Girl, you got real power. Thank you.
Thank you.